Hey guys, it's Vinny as well back to the Card 5 Vanguard deck profile. So if you guys enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and sorry. This time we're covering another DZ8 deck profile with Veissrugr. So obviously a deck from the moon is one of my favorites, and I was actually trying to wait as long as I could to do this deck profile because I wanted to do it with the cards in English, but unfortunately we're not going to get the English arts at least until next week, so might as well just go ahead and do the Japanese cards now. So let's get this shall we and see what we got. First today we have our Energy Generator. You may only have one Ride deck crest in your Ride deck. Auto Ride deck, when you ride, put this card into your crest zone. If you win second, you get to Energy Charge 3. Continuous, you may have to 10 energy and auto begin your right face energy charge 3, and then act once per turn, energy plus 7, draw a card. Arm pretty solid, you get a free 3 energy every turn. You can have up to an extra 10 on top of that, and if you win second, you get an extra 3, and finally you get to draw a card if your energy ends up overflowing. Unfortunately, in this deck, your energy will never hit 7 because you will always use your energy on stuff like the moongate itself, not to mention the fact you're really good grade 2 who can actually use the energy to draw a card like the energy generator, so it's obviously here to act as an extra resource, but you will never use that draw skill, so one of them in the right deck. As for our starter, we have Envoy of the Moon Repsolid. Grades will boost 5k shield, 6k base. Auto roll upon for second, draw a card. Standard starter, nothing special to free draw if you go second, if it's the deck theme, but also I'm pretty sure the grade 1 does actually require this as the starter, so one of them in the right deck of Repsolid. Moving on to our Overtrigger, we have Star Dragon, Deed of Infinitude, Elder Breath. Grades will boost 50k shield, 5k power. Overtrigger, you want Overtrigger in your deck and reveal it as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose what it means, get a +1 million for the turn, and if you revealed it during Dread check, activate its adjust effect, which you get to double the power and critical of all firmware units until end of turn, increase your double power and critical when activated. All around pretty solid because basically someone that has a total of 2 million on them when you draft check it, your entire front row has at least double crit, meaning unless your opponent's willing to throw down 3 or 2 to 3 PGs, they're probably going to lose that turn. All around Elder Buff is a very powerful over, and if you fought against it specifically back in D set 3 meta where Gravidia was a thing running around, you probably have PTSD from this. You could run the Red Overtrigger for more consistent multi-attacking with Veissrugr, or you could run a Spoiler for recycling, or even Dark Overtrigger for healing and more multi-attacking. But I prefer Elder Breath because, yeah, you sack this, odds are your opponent's probably dying that same turn, or they're walking away from it incredibly crippled. So one of Elder Breath. Next up, we have our normal triggers. 3 copies of our front and transforming heavy machinery, heavy Constellian. Grade 0 boost 50k shield, 5k base. You make these any front trigger you want. I chose to make it a front to add more numbers to the front row because typically the column that isn't called by Veissrugr is weaker, but if you end up calling the thing that can attack from back row to rear guard circle, then the column that is called by it will still be relatively weak. So the front triggers are to up the numbers. If you do run a front trigger, I recommend you run Cardinal, Draco, and Pyro. The reason why I'm not doing that is because it's a Cardinal card, which means it's part of an archetype, and I don't like running archetypal cards not inside their archetype. So 3 of fronts, followed by 8 crits, 4 copies of Star Aggression Dragon, grade 0 boost 50k shield, 5k base. You make this any crit you want. I'm supposed to make a Star Aggression Dragon because it's my favorite crit from Brandt, so obviously I'm going to run it. Followed by 4 copies of Patrol Rogue Bedecker Cop, grade 0 boost 50k shield, 4k power, critical trigger, auto rear guard, and the ability to boost it, shove it to soul, and give you 2k for the turn. That 2k won't make the difference at all, but it going to soul definitely will because Veissrugr's cost to use his ability is 2 soul, which you can only use once a game without either needing to Persona Ride, Bubble Mine, or, you know, end up having something like Decrocop to fix it. So it's a nice card to have in the deck as a 4 to help mitigate the soul problem that Veissrugr inevitably causes. Followed by 4 heals and Alterate Spear Dragon, grade 0 boost 50k shield, 5k base. You make this any heal you want. Like Star Aggression Dragon is actually my favorite heal trigger from Brandt, and typically whenever I run one of them, I run the other one. So we have a total of 3 funds for numbers, 8 crit for pressure, and 4 heal for recovery. On to our grade 1s, we want 4 copies of Detonation Monster Bubble Mine. Grade 1 boost 5k shield, 8k base, auto rear guard. At the ability boosted, if your order zone has a set order in it, put this card into your soul to countercharge 1. Cool. You know, as long as your order zone has a set order in it, which you will always get because the grade 1 on ride literally puts the moongate into your order zone for you, you'll be able to get an extra soul card, which helps mitigate Veissrugr's soul boss problem, but also gives you back CB, which you can then use on your wolf and your snake thingy, and even Alpha Gomani if you run Alpha Gomani. Are on very great grade 1 to manage both the soul and the CB resources, so it's just a very easy free 4 of grade 1 in this deck. It just does its job so well. Following that, we have 4 copies of our PG and Strong Arms Conversion Stolga Arms. Grade 1 boost 0 so 6k base, continuous sentinel, the 4 sentinels in deck and all those upon guard circle. Choose one units and cannot be hit in the battle. If your hands draw more cards, you choose a card from your hand and discard it. Standard PG, nothing too special about it. Basically, that means if this is only one of the cards in your hand, place it on guard circle, you don't have to discard, which is great, because that means to be super aggressive in the early game. Not really spam Bubble Mine, but spam the ever-living hell out of all the birds you see here and maybe a wolf while you're at it. And then when your opponent does eventually counterattack you, throw down Stroga Arms when you have low hand cards, give them the middle finger, and you're good to go. All around is a very solid PG to have in this deck. You can run Violate Dragon, or you could run the Planet Wall Dragon because they have the exact same skill as Stroga Arms, but I choose to make it Stroga Arms because he came out close to the time of Veissrugr's release. As for our last grade 1 on the deck, one of in the ride deck and none in the main deck, a Follower of the Moon Fresnel. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto auto replace by writing from Envoy of the Moon Repsol, reveal a grade 3 card Veissrugr in the card name from your ride deck to search your deck or hand for up to one Moongate card, put into your order zone and enter your deck and shuffle it. If you put a card from your hand, draw a card. Arm pretty solid because that means you can just keep your very important order as a 1-of in the deck, though to be fair, it's already at a 1-of because of its own skill. But being able to pull it from literally anywhere from either your deck or your hand just by simply placing this is great, because that means you don't have a chance to damage check it, you don't have a chance to whiff it, and it does end up in your hand. You at least get to replace it with a draw, so basically you didn't lose a card. Aron Fresnel, really great grade 1. It pulls your most important out of the deck for literally free just by simply existing. So 1 of in the ride deck of Fresnel, you don't need in the main deck because it obviously has no rearguard skills. As for our last grade 1 in the deck actually, and is our most important card in the deck by a long shot, because the entire deck dies if you don't have this, Moongate. Grade 1, set order. After set orders play, put it your order zone. Literally no cost to it whatsoever. Continuous, you may only have one Moongate in your deck. And act order zone, energy blast 3, and rest this card to check the top 7 cards of your deck. To up to 1 unit card with Mythic in its card name and a grade less than equal to your Vanguard from among them. Call it to rear guard circle and shuffle the deck. And if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard Veissrugr in the card name, instead of choosing up to 1 card and calling it to rear guard, you instead get to choose up to 3 cards from among them, call 1 to the rear guard, and then put the other cards into the order zone and shuffle the rest back into the deck. All around pretty solid because guaranteedly once you do hit grade 2, especially at grade 2 because there's no grade 1 mythic as of right now, but once you hit grade 2, you can energy blast 3 and rest this card to basically get any grade 2 mythic you want from the top 7 cards of your deck. It could be a bird most of the time, it could be the wolf possibly. You preferably don't want it to be the snake while you're on grade 2, but if it's what you get, it's what you get. And then once you do hit grade 3, well, you're pulling 3 cards from your deck out at a time, which is pretty much meaning your deck thinning so much every single turn, because that's 3 cards from this unit, and then Veissrugr himself can get you another 3 by using the Moongate again. So you have the potential to take 6 cards out of your deck that are normal units all in one turn, which is pretty good for deck thinning for triggers. So obviously it's a nice 1-up to have in the deck because you can't have more than 1 of it in the deck, but again, being able to pull units out of the deck, put them onto rear guard circle, and put them into order zone while guaranteeing higher up your trigger chances makes for a pretty good set order, so 1 of. As for our grade 2s, we start off with not 4, not 6, not 8, 12 copies of Throwing Mythic Veissrugr. Grade 2 intercept 5k shield, 10k base. Continuous, you may have up to 16 copies of this unit in your deck. And continuous rear guard circle. If your Vanguards are grade 3 grade of Veissrugr, this unit gets boost. Cool. So pretty much you want to have as many of these as possible in the deck because worst comes to worst with the Moongate, you can just keep pulling these out from the deck so you're at least getting something from it. And best case scenario, it has a boost so you can just shove 3 of these in the back row and boom, you got 3 10k boosters. And worst case scenario, well, you have a full board of birds, which rarely happens consistently with this deck because of course there's 12 of them. Either way though, it's great because it's a mythic, which means it's a pull target for the Moongate itself. Not to miss the fact, like I said before, it has boost, so once you do hit grade 3, you can just start 10k boosting all of your columns and bullet down your opponent. And in the early game, because you don't want to sack off your wolf too early, you don't want to sack off your snake, obviously, because both of them rarely come alive when you're at grade 3, you can just play down 1 crow via the Moongate skill and either hard call another one or play it via the grade 2 of the ride deck skill, which we'll go over in a minute, which pretty much allows you to just 10k rush your opponent on your grade 2 turn, so even if they pull defensive, at least you have a good board presence going into your grade 3 turn. Aron, very great grade 2 to have. He doesn't have any flashy abilities, but just him being at more than 4 copies and being a boost target while also being pullable from all the effects just makes him a really good card to have in the deck, so we obviously want him in as a 12 of. Next up, we have 4 copies of the first Mystic Wolfsvan Rotsava. Grade 2 intercept, 5k shield, 10k base, auto inputs on rear guard circle. If your Vanguards are grade 3 or greater Veissrugr in the card name until end of your turn, when this unit would attack, choose one of your opponent's former rear guards and it battles your opponent's Vanguard and all the units on the chosen circle at the same time. So pretty cool. So for free, this thing is basically a Vermilion where it can target 2 units at once in a battle, which means it can prevent your opponent from intercepting with a unit while also killing that unit at the same time. Pretty good. And then second skill is auto rear guard, regardless of a grade either player's at, mind you, so you don't even have to be on a Veissrugr for this part. When this unit attacks into anything, if your order zone has a Moongate in it, this unit gets 5,000 power until end of turn, and then you can choose to counter blast 1 or energy blast 3 to draw a card. So just by simply having the Moongate, and if you call off the Moongate on your grade 2 turn, you're not at Veissrugr yet, yeah, he won't be able to Vermilion your opponent's front row, but on the bright side, he now has the ability to swing for 15k to anything with the possible ability to get you a draw, and again, if you have Bold Mine on the board, you can just make him pay the CB for it because Bold Mine's going to retroactive anyways with his skill. All around, very great grade 2 to have in the deck. He allows to kind of bully down your opponent's board once you do play him with a Veissrugr with a non-once per turn free ability, so every single time you call him, whether he's normal called or called by abilities, it's just good. And the second ability literally allows you to get hand cards. So if your opponent gives you an excess of CB and or you mess up with the Moongate and get an excess of energy, yeah, you got a lot of hand cards going in for you, and he will always get the 5k regardless if you pay the cost or not. So very solid grade 2 to have. Really good for offensive pressure and really good for like keeping consistency and defensive power, so 4 of. As for our next grade 2, we have 4 copies of the second Mythic Garzormos. Grade 2, intercept, 5k shield, 10k base, the snake that shook the earth. Auto when placed on rearguard circle during your battle phase. Specifically, if your vanguards are grade 3 or grade 2 with Veissrugr in the card name, counter boss 1 until end of your opponent's next turn. This unit cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects, and it can attack from the back row. So cool, it has back row attack, and your opponent cannot be chosen by card abilities, but it can still be affected by them. Say, for example, they do a mass target like Veissrugr. For some reason you did call this to front row, Veissrugr would be able to touch it, or something similar where it doesn't specifically target, it just hits everything. Yeah, that's what would work on that. And then continues rearguard circle during your turn. If your opponent's vanguards are grade 3 or greater, this unit gets 5,000 power. So it's just a 15k base as long as your opponent's at grade 3, which is pretty solid, which means it can always hit a grade 3 or greater vanguard. But if you play in a normal order this turn, it gets plus 15k instead of just 5, which is great. So granted, it specifies normal order, which not every Brandt deck has access to easily, but being a 25k basis by playing an order while your opponent's on grade 3 is amazing. And the best part is, not just for this deck, but in general, that ability is generic. Because that ability does not require you to be at a Veissrugr. It just requires your opponent to be at grade 3 and you play a normal order. So if you want to just splash this in into some random Brandt beat stick deck and just have a 25k unit, go ahead. It's honestly kind of worth it in my opinion, but still, being able to gain back row attack just by you being at grade 3 is great, and then also getting more numbers when your opponent hits grade 3 is also really good. All around, Garzormos, really great grade 2 to have in the deck, and though his CB does kind of eat into the CB with the deck, we have a card that kind of mitigates that problem, so it's a solid 4 for me. As for our last grade 2 in the deck, it's a 1 of in the red deck, and then the main deck of Vassal of the Moon, Rhapsodon. Grade 2, intercept, 5k shield, 10k base, auto when placed by riding from Follower of the Moon Fresnel. Check the top 7 cards of your deck, and choose up to 2 unit cards with Mythic and its card name from among them. Reveal them, choose one of the revealed cards, put it to hand, and put the other revealed card into your order zone and shuffle the deck. So cool, it's pretty much the moongate on your grade 3 turn before you actually get to Veissrugr. So you get 2 units, one of them goes to order zone, one of them goes to hand, but you can put that one that you put to hand, more likely than not, you're going to normal call it, so you have extra swingers, which overall makes Rhapsodon a very great grade 2. He decked in is a little bit more for you, and then that same turn, you can then use the moongate again to try to get more cards onto your board, making him just very solid, and he does this a turn he's plays, which means he's more active in the deck and allows you to play a little bit more aggressively against your opponent. So he's a solid 1 of in the riot deck, and you don't need him in the main deck because obviously he has no rearguard skill, and he's not a mythic himself, which would mess with the deck's consistency. As for our grade 3s, run 2 copies of our new grade 3 order, Omur Semivardario. Grade 3, play this card if your vanguards are grade 3 grade of Veissrugr in the card name, very obviously a normal order. Choose one of your opponent's rearguards, kill it, and then all your vanguards get auto vanguard once per turn. When your rearguard with Mythic in its card name is placed on rearguard circle by this unit's ability, until end of your turn, the cost of that unit's original auto abilities is reduced by counter boss 1 until the end of the turn. So let's get this straight. It turns a Mythic's on place ability to free, so either you can use Garzormos for free, or you can use Veissrugr for free, which is pretty good. You either get a free draw or you get a free back row attack. And on top of that, this just kills an opponent's rear guard. Doesn't matter what grade the opponent's at, kills an opponent's rear guard, and all of this is done for free as long as you're at a grade 3. That's pretty good, because the rear guard kills prevents your opponent from intercepting, or if you know you can't kill them that turn, you choose to bully down their board with a combination of this and Veissrugr, so if they do survive, they have to come back from losing 2 units, and on top of that, it allows your abilities to go up for free, and again, it has no cost to it whatsoever, basically making Garzormos over here a free 15k if your opponent's at grade 3 themselves. This is a good 2 of. Like, you can run this at 2, or as like 1 of, and then combine it with Elffolk Gomani, because Elffolk Gomani gives more numbers to your board, but choose not to run Elffolk Gomani because that can cause a CB problem in this deck, especially with our new CB user in Garzormos, where this card actually reduces the CB, well, A, not being a CB user itself, unlike the other order, but B, it makes another card lose its CB cost for the turn, so there you go. Either way, though, very solid grade 3 order to have, and in my opinion, it's definitely worth the 2, but if you want to run Elffolk Gomani in place of this, or some combination of the 2, then by all means, go ahead. I just prefer to have, like, more CB available to me for this. As for our last card in the deck, we move on to 3 copies in the main deck and 1 copies in the ride deck of our main grade 3, our beautiful Emperor, Keeper of the Moongate, Veissrugr. Grade 3, Twin Jive, Persona Ride, 13k base, act Vanguard, once per turn, Soul Blast 2, choose a Moongate from your order zone and choose one of its original act abilities and activate it without paying its cost. So, cool. This card activates the moongate technically for free, but I mean, it's basically, instead of energy blasting 3 and resting, it's just soul blasting 2 to proc off the ability. But still, being able to activate the moongate again is great, because like I said before when I was going over the moongate, that pretty much in theory allows you to pull a total of 6 cards out from your deck that are normal units, meaning you have an increased chance to drag check triggers throughout the game. And then the second ability is auto vanguard. When he attacks in anything by counterblasting 1, choose up to 2 unit cards with mythic in this card name from your order zone, call each of them to rearguard circle and saying colonize each other, and all your front row units get 5,000 power for the turn. So cool, he gives your front row half a persona ride, regardless if you call something or not, which means worst case scenario, your order zone has nothing or you don't have 2 units, just counterblast 1 5k to front row. That actually won me a game one time. And it initiates multi-attack because it at least gets you a whole other column, so you can call 2 birds with say column, a bird and a Rotifer, a bird and Garzaramos, or Garzaramos and a wolf, basically getting you somewhere between 4 and 5 attacks throughout that turn, all for 1 simple CB. If you end up calling Garzaramos, possible 2 CB unless you play this order. And as for last ability, auto vanguard, when your unit with mythic in its card name is put on guard circle, whether via by intercepting or putting it from hand, or your opponent moves it to the guard circle, put a mythic in his card name from your drop zone on the bottom of your deck, and that unit gets 5,000 shield for the battle. That ability is so good, because you're pulling a lot of mythics from your deck. Even though you're doing that specifically for the sake of trying to get your increased trigger chance, eventually you're going to run out of mythics, and you're going to run out of units you can call to board. Well, this card allows you to recycle the ones you sent to drop zone, either via just guarding or discarding for ride deck, and then the following turn you can then moongate and use Veissrugr to shuffle your deck and get your mythics back in a good place, and then call them back to rearguard circle. So while you are kind of lessening your trigger chance, you're basically continuously getting a good board presence out of it. The best part is, because it's activating when a mythic is put on guard circle and you're only putting 1 card from drop zone to bottom of a deck, that means once you have at least 1 mythic in your drop zone, you can always use that ability over and over and over again, because the cards are just replacing themselves as they go back into the deck. Very solid grade 3. Allows you to activate the moongate multiple times for an alternate cost, if the alternate cost is a little bit hefty. That's why Persona Rides exist, that's why Bulb of Mine exists, and that's why Patrol Robo Decker Cop is in this deck. Not to mention the fact that he can initiate multi-attacks somewhere between 4 and 5 attaches for only 1 CB, and give your front row 5k to additionally pressure out your opponent. And again, he has a guard skill that is literally infinitely proccable as long as you have at least 1 mythic in drop zone before you start it. This card's an amazing grade 3. I love having him in this deck. He's just super great. He's a combination of consistency, aggro, and defense all at once. 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck, worthy of Moongate. And without further ado, that's it for this one. I hope all of you guys enjoyed. Honestly, this is one of my favorite decks in terms of theme, because as all as you know, I really love the moon, and getting to play a deck where like the whole point is to kind of be with the trial of the moon is great. Bowling down your opponent with 4 to 5 attacks every turn, having amazing grade 2s to combo off with, having a really good order just to basically bully down your opponent, and having a great grade 3 who's pretty much proccable in every sense of the phrase and allows for so much interaction with the deck, just makes for a very fun deck to play all around. And I definitely recommend you try out if you're also a fan of the moon, or you just like Kagetsu-sama, because man, I love that guy. So without further ado, I'm going to end here. I hope all of you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join this playlist. I'll see you all in the next one. Don't stand up your vanguards.